artists. Today we're still talking about line and shape, and today we're going to focus on shape, and we're going to be cutting shapes out of recycled boxes. So make sure you save some boxes from your house. I'm going to be using some macaroni and cheese boxes, but any type of box is fine. So a cereal box, a box that a baking mix comes in. Just make sure it's a thinner cardboard than a box that might come in the mail so that it's easy to cut. For other supplies for this project, you're going to want a pencil or a marker or a pen, a straight edge or a ruler. So if you don't have a ruler at home, it's fine. Something with a straight edge so that your shapes have straight lines. Some markers or crayons if you want to color your shapes. Scissors, your recycled box that you'll make your shapes out of. And then I also have a piece of construction paper that I'm going to lay down so you can see that my shapes can make pictures. And so that my shapes show up a little bit better, I'm going to have this on the table. This is optional because you can also glue your shapes to this to make a picture. But if you don't have this at home, that's totally okay. Some alternatives, if you don't have a box at your house, can be any type of paper or construction paper will work just fine. Okay, artists, let's get started. So what we're doing today is we're making shapes like a tangram. So this is the classic, and I've put together some definitions and what they mean right here so you can read as you're watching the video. I'm going to be making this out of my mac and cheese box. This will be available for you on Google Classroom so that you can copy right off of this handout. There are several different types of these layouts available online, and you can look on there for inspiration. Just make sure that this is what you're Googling. I'm going to start by cutting open the box on one of the edges. And I just want my box to lay flat so that it's easier to cut. All right, so now my box is totally flat. And this cardboard is much thinner than a corrugated cardboard box, so it's easier to cut through. And what I want to do is figure out how wide my box is. So if my box is only 3 inches before I get to one of these cutouts, but I'd like for this to be bigger, this is 4 inches by 4 inches. What I can do is I can make my box, cut it in half. So if I don't want any weird folds, I can just piece together my box. But if you have a big box like a cereal box, you can totally skip this step. There we go. Okay. And now I'm ready to draw my square. Now, when you're drawing your square, you want it to be as even Stevens as possible. Make sure my edges meet up really nicely before I get started. Okay, I'm going to measure. Make this one nice and big for the video. 5 inches by 5 inches. Now, of course, if you have the handout in front of you, feel free to use that as your guide, and you don't have to do any measuring or any using of a ruler. But if you have a ruler and you can measure at your house, this would be a great time to get some practice in since we're not at school. And the stakes are pretty low here because we're doing an art project, so it's okay if it's not perfect. I've decided to tape mine together so that it's a little bit easier to work with. So now I'm going to cut out my square. This is a little bit of a math and art integration lesson, but I don't want anyone to get super stressed out that your lines have to be perfectly straight and everything has to be measured exactly. Now, if this was math class, the answer would be yes, but here in art class, it's okay if it doesn't. It's okay if things aren't perfect because this is art class. So I'm going to start drawing the lines on my cardboard using this diagram. Again, there are tons of these online. You don't have to follow this one. So the first line I'm going to draw is diagonal, corner to corner across my cardboard. You don't have to use a pencil. You can use whatever writing tool you have at home. I'm starting with a pencil and then I'm going to switch to a Sharpie. And then I'm going to lay my ruler corner to corner, going the other way diagonally, and draw across. Okay, so I'm going to keep these two triangles up at the top, and now I'm going to work on this middle row of shapes. So what I want to do is measure how long this line is. Looks like it's 3.5. So half of 3.5, so I'm going to measure that real quick, is 1 3/4. Right here, 1 3/4. And then I'm going to draw a line going all the way down, and that creates that triangle. And now I'm going to draw a parallel line from here to meet my diagonal line. And that's making that square. And now straight across for the triangle. And I just need to finish this triangle up in the corner and erase the diagonal line that's in the middle that I don't need anymore. Okay, and now this is all set to go. So that you can see my lines a bit better, I'm going to go over all of my lines with a Sharpie, and I'm going to cut them out. That's the next steps. From here you can decorate your shapes and give them designs and patterns. I'm going to be using markers on mine, and I'm going to give each square a different design just to make them exciting to look at. We are talking about lines and shapes this week, so this would be a really good chance to get some more practice in for drawing lines. And this step is totally optional. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But sometimes this can make it more fun to look at. we're almost done. Next step, I'm going to cut on all of my black lines. You might want to keep your shapes with the black lines. If you're adding color or lines to them, it can make it hard to figure out where your shapes are, which is why I made my shapes with the Sharpie. So I could still tell where they were when things got kind of wild with all the designs. All right, so here are my 7 shapes, and I can now organize them to make pictures. Now, if you're being true to the style, you want to use all of the shapes at once to make a picture. But again, this is art class, so if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can make a picture using your shapes however you want, but if you're being true to the form, you can use all 7 shapes to make pictures. So I'm going to be back real quick with an example of how to use all 7 shapes, but don't feel like you have to use all 7. You can arrange them however you want on your paper. Remember, you can glue them down, you can make a bunch, or you can make one set to reuse. You can also trace them on your paper once you've come up with a design that you like. So if you have a picture or design that you like, you can trace right on your paper with these. So I've used my shapes to make this running person. I've used all 7 shapes here. I'm going to mix them up and make something else. So this time I'm going to be making a sailboat. And there are lots of these that you can find online to make your different pictures. Maybe this, yeah, here we go. So here's my sailboat. And then the last one I'm going to show you is a fish. This can be so creative. You can find ones that you like online. You can make new ones. Guys, I can't wait to see what you do with this. This can be so amazing, and you can really think outside of the box and do 100 different things with these shapes. Please tag me on social media, and if you're in my Google Classroom, please turn in a picture of what you did. Bye, everybody.